All right, here we go. Our board of directors, we have a couple minutes. We need comments from our board members. Raise your hand. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then. All right, Chris, you want to start us off?
Yeah, on this show, it's a small show. We have 26 paintings and photographs up there. But did somebody say something?
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot.
I can't hear, Oliver.
I forgot.
All right.
I said just the best ones.
Just the best ones. Forgive Oliver. He didn't. All right. Anyway, we have 26. The good news is that means when the critique is done, instead of forcing our critique artists to limit their comments to only 2 minutes, we'll get a full 3 minutes now. And I think we will enjoy that because the critique artists will be able to talk more in depth about stuff. All right? So it's coming up. Thank you.
Come back at 8:15. We want to close the demo at 8:40 and have about 10 minutes to clean up and then try to get out of here by about 9 o'clock. Like I said, we have an agenda on the, we have copies of the agenda on the table back by the membership chairman. Also, I have some objectives here that I will comment on after the break, if that would be okay with everybody. So we got any more comments right now?
An announcement. I have an announcement.
Okay. Right. Okay, then we'll come back from our break about 5 minutes early because we have a couple of announcements. Is that on? We have a couple of announcements that members want to make, and we want to get off into a demonstration. We're right about now. I don't want to trip.
Let's not trip out either.
Ollie's already
I want to keep this brief because I'm real excited. I want to see what Leslie's got to do here. She's inspirational. She's doing collage for us. And I want to learn how to do collage. I want to be inspired, and so do some of you. So, Leslie Lynn.
All right, can everybody hear me in the back? Because if you can't, I can use the microphone. But I think it's going to be hard to hold the microphone and demonstrate at the same time. So if you can't hear me, just raise your hand and I'll speak up. Yeah, or come closer. Or come closer, right, that's a good idea. All right, so about me. I've been an artist forever. I think decided at a very young age when I knew that I could draw that I was an artist. I went on to college. I went to Drake University. I majored in art, and then somebody said, oh, you're not going to get a job when you get out of school. So I switched to graphic design, and I did get a job when I got out of school. I was a graphic designer for Saxon Paint and Wallpaper for a couple of years in their advertising department, and then I went on to become a graphic designer for Hewitt Associates. So you know Hewitt Associates are kind of not the same as when I was there. But I was at Hewitt Associates for 15 years. I left Hewitt Associates to do freelance, freelance graphic design and illustration, and I fell into teaching at College of Lake County. And so for the last 18 years, I have been an adjunct at College of Lake County, and I teach computer graphics. I'm in the fine arts department. I report to Bob Lossman, but I teach computer graphics. But that's not why I'm here tonight. So why I'm here tonight is I'm going to kind of go into my mixed media and collage and why I do what I do. And I also have 2 quick demos. I have materials so that if we have time and if you don't want to snack, you can try some of these things, because I truly believe that you only remember part of what you hear, but you remember what you do. So some people are auditory people, some people are visual people, some people are kinetic people, and I'm more of a kinetic person and a visual person. I remember anything that anybody tells me. I don't. It just, if I don't write it down, it doesn't happen. And that's one of the reasons why I brought my current sketchbooks with. My daughter calls my sketchbook my security blanket, because if I don't have it, I go berserk. And I have a new system now. I have about 10 sketchbooks that are active, which is kind of crazy, but I have one by my bed, I have one in my purse, I have one at the studio, I have one in the car, so I always have a sketchbook, so they're planted all over the place. And so they're in chronological order, but it's just that if you really want the chronological order, you kind of have to compare 6 to 10 sketchbooks. And I brought those with. I'm going to pass them around, take a look at them. I truly feel that as an artist, we have to keep thinking of ideas all the time. And if we see something or hear something, mostly see something that is really interesting to us as an artist, you need to write it down, or you need to draw a little sketch. So, and then I also put my grocery list in my sketchbook. And I put my, I go to a lecture and I put those notes in the sketchbook. And so when you look through my sketchbooks, you're gonna say, wow, these are really random. But it's the piece of paper that I have, and I keep it. The other thing that I've been trying to do lately is to do, you've heard of this whole visual journal, art journaling movement. I'm not really good at that. But I'm trying to do a sketchbook or a journal that has each page, has a piece of art on it. Doesn't really work for me because my notes get in the way, and then there's my grocery list and my to-do list and whatever. So, all right, so this is kind of my artist statement that I brought with tonight. I've got extra copies on the table, and I'm just gonna just kind of read it out to you. I create mixed media art. Mixed media means I use more than just watercolor. But in the old days, I used to be a watercolor artist, so that's part of me. I love to do collage. And so I've tried to transition from being a watercolor artist to a collage artist. Don't do that. You never become a collage artist. You cannot throw anything out. Anybody who's been to my studio is like, whoa. It verges on hoarding, and it's very scary. But collage is actually about 100 years old, and Kurt Schwitters, has anybody heard of Kurt Schwitters? Probably some of you have. He was one of the collage artists with the Dada, around the Dada time, knew Picasso and knew a bunch of those collage people. 100 years ago, they started the word collage. And collage just means in French, to glue, to glue. So anytime you take your art and you glue something, that's collage. Kurt Schwitters used to roam around France, Paris, and pick up things that he found on the floor or on the ground and put them in his pocket, just like a bag lady, and then he would collage them the next day. So the Kurt Schwitters collages are fabulous, inspirational, and it's like, oh, I'm not crazy. Somebody's done this before. Those of you who also know me know that I've been working on a 1,000 Angel project. I had a show at the Dandelion Gallery in February. My daughter counted all the pieces in that and all the angels that were in that show, and I had over 100. And I'm sure that I have over 300 in my sketchbook here. I just need I need an accountant or somebody good with numbers to number them and date them for me, because I can't do that. The angels happen. The reason why I've got angels in my thing is I was doing watercolor landscape, and I wanted to give some scale to the watercolor. So I was putting a little tiny figure in the bottom of my watercolor. And then all of a sudden, that little tiny figure was in the sky. And then people said, oh my gosh, it's an angel, because I have this figure in the sky. What could that be? And so then I started doing angels, and the angels really have kind of taken over what I do. I am influenced by lots of artists, and kind of whatever I see sort of inspires me. And this is my new description of my work. It's a mix of folk art, outsider art, with a splash of graphic design. So it's kind of, you know, I mean, I used to say I was a whimsical watercolor artist, but now I'm kind of this crazy artist doing all sorts of things. All right, so I've probably used up all my time, and it's probably time for a snack, but I'm going to do it all here. I have two quick demos, one for before snack and one for after snack. And the first one is, let me get this going here. One of the things that I found out with watercolor is that you can use gesso to prepare your surface. This is actually my little sample board. I did this back in October of 2008. It is gesso on wood, and actually this has been around forever. Gesso has been used since the late 16th century. And what they did was, gesso is a type of a plaster of Paris, and what it does is it creates this beautiful surface to do artwork on. It's got a chalk base, but did you know that gesso is it's used for watercolor, it's used for tempera, it's used for acrylic, it's used for oil, it's used for a lot of different things. So anyway, what I like to do is use the gesso really thick. The traditional way to use gesso, to gesso a canvas or to gesso a board, would to put many layers of gesso, and then you would sand it between layers, and people used up to 10 layers of gesso to make their artwork really smooth. But I found out that you can use gesso really thick. This is some nice thick white gesso, and it creates a really wonderful texture. So what I like to do, now I've looked at other watercolor mediums because there's a ton of them out there. Golden has a bunch of grounds. Gesso's a ground, it's a base. I think you could use molding paste or whatever, but I think of all the grounds that are out there, you know, Daniel Smith has a special watercolor ground. This is the easiest to find, you know, because I can go anywhere. Well, Michael's, Joanne's, Hobby Lobby.
What is it?
Gesso,
Just
gesso.
That's all it says is gesso.
This is Liquitex
Liquitex.
gesso. It's they call it a surface prep. It's a ground. I like it thick. The cheaper gesso isn't thick, but I like to, you know, really put it on there thick. And then what I do is I take my pencil or the back of my paintbrush, and I like to draw in it. So I can put graphic marks. I can draw. Let's see if I can draw a figure upside down. Oh yeah, I can draw an angel upside down. And I could write words. I can nice, toothy. I'm going to just put some gesso right here. Nice, toothy, white, flat, beautiful surface. And you could draw on it. You could paint on it. I'm actually going to pass this around so people can see it. This is white acrylic paint. It's going to dry real fast. The gesso dries fast, acrylic paint dries fast. That is white acrylic paint. And it will dry in a minute here. And then also the other thing, after the break, I'm going to do a demo with the gel medium. But between these three,
Is it really gel?
this is acrylic gel, yeah. And this, if I have a clean brush, will dry totally clear. So we're going to just let that white acrylic paint, gesso, and gel medium. As a matter of fact, this was the acrylic paint. And I'm going to just pass this around when it dries. So in the meantime, I'm going to show you some of the things that I've been doing lately. All right, so this right here is a watercolor that I did in 2008, and basically it's just on illustration board. It's not on watercolor paper, but I can turn any surface into a watercolor surface using gesso. So this I painted with gesso. You can see all the grooves in here. That was because I drew into it with a pencil or the end of my paintbrush, and then I watercolored over it. So I'm gonna pass, I don't know, I think you should see it, so I'll pass this around. It's okay, the back of my paper, the back is kind of, the dust cover is kind of getting, it needs to be back. All right, so then recently, now I'm gonna go a step that I'm not gonna demonstrate tonight, but a step that is out there. These two pieces, talking about your mixed media, are jelly prints, jelly plates. Gelatin, I'm not a printmaker, but gelatin plates are something that printmakers use for monoprints. One of a time, you can make them with Jello or gelatin. The ones that I'm using now, it's a new surface that comes, you can buy it, they're called jelly plates. And oh my gosh, if you go onto YouTube and type in jelly, G-E-L-L-I, printing, you'll have thousands of hours of demos. But what I've done with these two, and it's kind of hard to see because I don't have the pieces, but I would cut out a stencil, do the jelly printing, and then I went back in here with, because this is just on cover stuff. I went back in here with gesso, and then I did a watercolor over it. So there's a sample of that. I'll just pass it around. And then with my collage, let's see. Oh, I've got that piece right over there. With my collage, oh my gosh. I know, you're not supposed to paint watercolor on paper plates. I do a lot of children's classes. I have a couple of children's classes after school. And so this is gesso. You have to let the gesso dry. Almost have to let it dry overnight. And then put it on this is just with plain watercolor. So there's a sample. And it's good to see the real live thing. Here is I don't really like this illustration, but this was an illustration I was doing for a book.
Now, the jelly, that you put that over the top?
This is a jelly print behind it, yeah.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
a print behind it?
Yeah.
Now, does it dry clear, or what
So
is it?
I use the blue in this print is actually acrylic paint. And I cut out a paper stencil on this angel. Pulled the paper stencil off so there was no ink on that part of the plate. Printed it. It's really complicated. It's like way too many steps. It's one of these things that it's hard to teach it, but it's so much fun to know that you can start with a print background, watercolor, put gesso on whatever surface you use, on whatever substrate, put gesso on there, let that dry, and then put a watercolor on top of it. It's crazy. Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy.
Did you bring a jelly plate with you?
I didn't bring a jelly plate with me. No, I'm sorry. I should have. But that would have been we would have had to stay here till midnight.
So can we
You get
find
the-
out more about that if we would go online?
Oh, yes.
Jelly?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. G-E-L-L-I, jelly, yeah. But I'm doing a jelly demonstration. I'm doing a jelly printing demonstration for the Midwest Collage Society in November. If anybody wants to drive down to Darien, Illinois. I'm doing that November 9th. You can come by car, but it is an hour's drive down there. All right, so this isn't the same thing. This is a gessoed on watercolor paper, drew the texture in, and then painted over it. So I'm gonna let this dry so I can show you the watercolor over it. And then, one of the things that happens with the watercolor is that don't let beginner watercolors try this. It will drive them crazy. Because you can just, what you have to do with this type of technique is that you have to varnish it or spray varnish because the watercolor is sitting on top of the gesso. And that, if any of you guys, if we spit on it, the watercolor would be gone. So if it wasn't spray varnished, then I could just put it under the sink and the watercolor would be all gone, which is really hard for new watercolor people. I've tried to deal with new watercolor people. Oh, it's not a good thing. What I've done here is I've done a layer of watercolor and then I've taken a light paper towel and wiped it. And then I put another layer of watercolor and a light paper towel and wiped it. Has anybody ever done that antiquing? It's a lot like that. You really have to be patient and you can ruin it like that. But this was kind of my play with it. You know, I tried a heat gun on it and it sort of bubbled and crackled. Yeah, it was odd. My watercolor is mostly like a pencil drawing and color and fill in the blank. All right, what time is it? Okay, all right. So we're gonna put in 1 second and then we'll go on to, this was also, see, this is like, what is this? This is a watercolor over gesso, but it started as a jelly print. So it's just, yeah, it's crazy. The jelly print is acrylic. You know, talk about mixed media. In order to be mixed media, all you have to do is like take a watercolor and add an ink line to it. That makes it a mixed media. This is like crazy because it's like.
But wait a minute, so you had a 8x10 jelly plate?
Yes.
And so you painted the acrylic with red on the jelly plate?
Yes.
Did you block out where you were gonna put the
Yes.
angels?
They were all
So you
cut
cut
out.
out, and you put that on the jelly plate first.
Yeah.
And you rolled on the paint.
Yeah.
And then you pulled those off,
Yeah.
so you had blank spaces.
Yes.
And then you put the gesso.
Yes.
And then you watercolor.
Yes.
Okay.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
A jelly, it's a gelatin mono printing plate. And again, I'm not a printmaker. The printmakers here could probably talk about that a little bit more. Yeah.
Why would you use acrylic on top of all this stuff, since you can do that right from the beginning?
Well, you could, and that would be easier.
Yes, certainly.
Yeah, that's not the question.
That's not the question.
But,
I'm sorry.
yeah, no. You know what, I think why I do it this way is because I love the transparency of watercolor. And you can't get that with acrylic paint or oil paint, well, you can. But it really takes a lot of, it's not the road I mean, as an artist, we have so many different ways to go. With, you know, we've got so much new medium out there, and subject matter, the sky's the limit, abstract on top of that. So there's no right way or wrong way. And, you know, my brother-in-law calls me the mad scientist. I love to experiment. So if I wasn't an artist, I'm sure I would be a scientist, because I love to say, oh, what would happen if I did this? What would happen if I did that? And basically what I'm here tonight is to tell you what works and what doesn't work. Gesso works as a beautiful base for any substrate, and you can watercolor on top of it.
Could you gesso over the acrylic paint as well?
Yeah, you can. You can. That's absolutely, here's a plain gesso print. I'm gonna just take this out of there so you can really see it. This is gesso on a piece of blue paper, and then I was doing this kind of for, what do they call, the bookmakers call that paste paper. I just call it gesso with lots of lines and stuff in it. Mixed media. See, this is a little bit more standard mixed media. This is watercolor with rubber stamps. I do a lot of rubber stamping. I've made my own rubber stamps. This right here is a piece of foam from the grocery store, and I want to ink it up and pull a print. Haven't done that yet. This is why, as a collage artist, I have bags and bags of like things that should go in the garbage, and I can't throw them out.
Can I ask you about the jelly?
Yes,
So,
yes,
so take the red one that's coming right.
yeah.
And you cut out the forms where you put in the watercolor. Okay, You are actually not going to print it, that is your goal.
Yeah, it's a, what do you call it? It's a mono printing, so it's really one print or two prints, and that's it. This was this was a collage, and then over the collage I gessoed, and then I watercolored on top of it, and then I put ink. I mean, it's like crazy. Crazy! Why would you do all of that? I don't know. Here, like, what nuts? I'm gonna tell you one more story, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll come back and do my second thing. You'll notice, if anybody knows me, that I have a lot of, like that first piece that went around from 2008, I did a lot of angels with faces but no features. 2010, my mom and my aunt were struggling with glaucoma, and I was starting to have eye issues, and so all of a sudden, the light went off and said, I have to put eyes in my pieces. So, yeah, it was just like, I was told, okay, it's time. So, if you see some of my artwork, because it's been around for a while, if it doesn't have a face, then typically it's before fall of 2010. And after 2010, I started, I'm gonna pass this around, because this is dry enough so that it's not gonna, well, don't let it fall in your lap or rub on it. There's a piece of hair on here. Oh, it's a collage. I told my daughter that if she ever needs my genetic makeup, any piece of art has a piece of my hair on it. So that's the surface, and when those dry, you can feel them. But what I wanted to show you is that I've started my faces. These faces here, I did a whole sheet of faces. So when I want a collage, I can do the whole collage and not worry about the face, because you know if you do the face wrong, you can ruin the painting. But no, I'm not going to ruin it because I can gesso over it and do it again. So anyway, this little sheet is off my computer. This is inkjet. What I like to do, this is a photograph. This is an inkjet with polymer over it, starts to fade. So what you really need to do is go to Kinko's and get a laser copy, run the heat, not wet ink. And then this is just a drawn face out of my sketchbook. Sometimes I think I'm like Keith Haring. Keith Haring has his little people. And then I have a girlfriend whose son was like in New York at that time, and he came home and started doing Porter people. And I went, oh, I'm going to do Leslie people. So it's kind of a direct thing. All right. So we're going to let this dry while we have a snack. I'm going to show you watercolor, and then I'm going to show you another gluey thing for collage. Does anybody have any questions?
I'm just curious about what, if you painted oil, what would give texture to the oil paste?
Well, you could use gesso for that too. Yeah. Yeah, acrylic gesso is really, the gesso that we buy at the store is really made to put acrylic on top of it. But some of those gessos, I think, work for oil paste too. Right, you can. Oh my gosh, Golden must have 20 products that you could use. So I'm not selling Golden because there's some good stuff.
I was just going to say that there is now some thought is against the gesso for oil painting, when you want your oil painting brown. I'm not sure I fully understand that, but you can sell it.
That's a graphic.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I've abandoned the watercolor brown. Somebody had a question of, yeah.
What differences between painting on paper and gesso with watercolor? Could you compare those two?
Okay, so if I took watercolor paper and put gesso over it, Is that what you're saying?
No, if I'm painting watercolor on paper, it soaks in, it dries quicker, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
What happens on gesso? Does it bead up?
It's
Does it
it sits on top.
sits on top?
So, you know, the clay board, I don't know if everybody's heard about that white clay board that people are watercoloring on, or Yupo, it's the same thing, the watercolor sits on top. It's a little bit more challenging. And you can do all sorts of fun stuff with it, but it's a lot easier to watercolor on watercolor paper.
So you have to varnish it, you said.
Yeah, right, yeah. All right, any other questions? Okay, yeah.
It's not really a question, more or less just a comment. I've been using gesso for 6 years now, but I do a lot of cosplaying and building of weaponry for costumes, and I make piñatas and sculptures and whatever, and I use it after I do my paper mache work. Gesso it like 3 times, and then acrylic. It's phenomenal. I love the product.
Gesso is perfect for preparing any surface to do artwork on top of. So yeah, you could use it on sculpture, you could use it on paper mache, paper, board, yeah.
One comment, once you get into this, you want to buy gesso in large quantities.
Yes.
You don't want to buy the little bitty one.
Yes.
It's not going to get you very
Well, like
far.
I've done some of those fiberglass pieces, and as soon as you wash those and gesso those, then they're ready to go. But you can't really paint right on the fiberglass, even with acrylic. Sometimes they're oily and it's a mess. So those big fiberglass, soak it down, gesso the whole thing, and then put whatever you want on top of there.
Just a question I have, somebody gave me a big bucket of gesso. Really big. Is that still good?
Yes, that's the way we like
Probably
it.
about 30 years old.
That's the way we like it. You know, kind of like, so if you get cheap gesso, it's, yeah.
But you can't.
You can cut it with water and thin it down.
Which direction this is going in water, that was 30 years ago.
Well, yeah, if you need it to be thinner, you can, but it's really, I mean, it's got that, I looked this up, I did a little, it's plaster of Paris compound or whitening in glue, flap absorbent, a base for gilding on wood or painting on canvas or painting on paper. And it's not just white paint, that's why I sent it on my sketchbook. But white paint really has a shine to it. The acrylic white paint, really, acrylic white paint, all you could put on top of that is acrylic white paint. I mean, acrylic color paint, yeah. Once you've got that acrylic white paint, it won't take any other, but gesso will take pastel, tempera, watercolor, yeah.
And you can mix acrylics with the gesso while you're putting it on, so you can save a step.
Yeah, you could, but
It works.
but it would, if the gesso was white, it's gonna change your color, isn't it?
Yeah, well, but you're looking for a background.
Yeah,
on the
right.
background.
Oh, yeah, and they sell colored gessos now. You can get gesso in black and tints and whatever, yeah.
And you can also add materials to the gesso. So, for instance, one of the things I'm messing around with is vermiculite. So you grind up vermiculite, fix that in, and then you have a surface that'll tear your brushes apart.
So let's take that break, and I'll be here to ask, if you want to ask more questions or come up, and then I'll come back and do more of a gluing. All right.
Thank you, okay. 7:50, we want to take a few minutes for our break, and everybody take a look at the artwork that members brought in. And please try to get back about 10 minutes after 8, so we can have a couple minutes to make announcements. And that's something that I want to go over with you before the second part of the demonstration. Okay? Thank you. Okay, we're going to start the demo in about the next 5 minutes, but we have lady here who wants to give you some information.
Hi. Hi. I'm Joe Alberti, and Heather Ridge is going to have an art show November 7th and 8th, Friday and Saturday. Setup is going to be Thursday, so we need artists who want to exhibit your pieces of artwork. And there's going to be a value table from $20 to $100. So if you have the little paintings that you want to get rid of, hopefully they sell. And it's going to be in Heather Ridge. It's 21 and 120 Heather Ridge Golf Course. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
So you can call me for more details and tell me if you want to exhibit there. This way I know how many artists are going to participate. My phone number is 847-549-0554. And I'm Joe, short for Josephine, just Joe Alberti. Thank you.
It's an inside show, right?
Inside the golf. It's a golf course, of course, but it's the golf clubhouse.
Have you guys had a show before?
Pardon me?
Have you had a show before?
Oh, yeah.
So,
And it's a nice room, you know. If you have easels or something to show your work, just bring them along as well.
how many people expect?
So far we have 15 artists showing.
How many people?
What do you mean?
What do you expect from the public?
Well, depending, we're going to be showing Friday and Saturday, so it's hard to judge. But we usually have a pretty good crowd. I know I sold a painting last year. Was so proud. Hey, woo! But it's hard to judge. So you're welcome. Just give me a call.
Phone number again?
It's 847-549-0554. This way I know what medium you're going to be displaying. We can kind of set it up nicely. Okay, thank you. What question? Yes?
Is there a fee for this or what? How do you?
No. No, you can bring some cookies or something, you know. No, it's not a juried show.
Okay.
So there's no entrance fee or anything. It's just for artists to show their work.
And it's this weekend?
And sell, hopefully.
November
7th and 8th.
Okay.
And setup will be Thursday, the 6th of November, from 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock. We'll be setting up. And we're leaving the paintings there, of course, Friday and Saturday.
No, they could run out of space. I mean,
Thank
they
you.
could, she might have to say there's no room.
Where is it located?
You know, do you know where Heather Ridge is? You know where Gurney is? You know where, okay, Milwaukee Avenue.
Okay, another announcement?
Paper. I don't have paper.
Oh, come on, use the mic.
Well, if you get to Milwaukee Avenue and 120,
1, 2, 3, 4.
at that corner, then you would go north on Milwaukee Avenue about 2 blocks.
On Thursday? Thank you.
And then see, you go, there's a wooded area and a waterfall.
Senior Center in Lake Forest. It's arts and crafts, and we are going to be doing our glass, airbrush glass and jewelry together. I hope you all can make it. And I think there was an email sent out to everyone about where the map was on it. I left them on the Seat of Judy's car, all the flyers tonight that I was going to pass out. So I think there was one sent out, wasn't there, Chris?
No.
No? Oh, well, I have to get that done tomorrow. Okay. Thank you.
Try to get that information.
Yeah, I will.
All right, Raj?
I don't think I need the microphone, but I'm losing my touch. I'm trying to make this as quick as possible. 23 Blast is going to appear at 600 theaters this Friday. Round Lake is one of them. 23 Blast, Dennis Downs, artist, author, Antioch. Some of you know of his work. He did the book on the trail marker trees, Native American. Anyway, he's got a cameo in this picture. First of all, they have 3 of his canvases are used on one of the sets. And in the process of talking to these people, they gave him a cameo role in this. He's got a walkthrough scene. But anyway, that show is Friday. It's based on a true story. A young man, 17 years old, had an optic nerve disaster, went blind overnight. It's a story about his fight to deal with that, played football, blah. It's based on a true story. He's now a minister. I can't think, there was a talk show on Fox just the other night, and they talked about this show, and they said everybody should go see it. Some people might have heard that.
Yes.
Okay. And what was the guy, one of the guys that was on that show? A very conservative. Huckabee, okay. Anyway, I don't know what time they're going to show. I haven't got the information on it yet. I'm going to go to the Round Lake Theater and find out. I know Dennis would like to come back and be at that theater when that happens. I know he's coming back from Kentucky because that's where the whole thing is going on. But I just wanted to announce that. It should be in the theaters, Round Lake, 23 Blast. I'm sure it's a PG-13. That's it.
Let me see that. I don't know if there was, okay, do we have another announcement? No. Okay, good. The paper that I made up, and hopefully everybody had a chance to get a copy. It's about objectives. And I don't know if, I don't think this has been done in the organization before, but trying to give the organization some direction towards communicating with the community. Now, it's undeniable that art plays a lot in behavior, okay? And there is a lot of behavior that needs to be altered. A lot of really bad behavior that needs to be altered. And people, we as artists have a very, very special responsibility. You know, we do our art, and we say the art isn't for us, it's for the viewer. Well, you know, it's for more than just the viewer. You know, we have a responsibility to spread the spirit of creativity throughout the community, because it's through the spirit of creativity that the spirit of violence and undesirable behavior is eliminated or diminished. So what I have here, something I'm not going to read it because it's kind of lengthy, and that's why I printed it. It's something that I'm hoping we can look at and kind of wrap our minds around. And the first part of next year, I think we want to try to kind of like move in that direction. Okay. So I'm not going to take up any more time, but I hope that everyone who has a copy of this will give it some consideration. And if you have any questions or any comments, I think you know how to get in touch with me. Okay? So?
Leslie,
okay, here we go.
we're waiting for Leslie.
Okay. Okay. I think we're pretty much on time with our agenda. So thanks a lot, everybody.
Okay, I'm back. My commercial is that I'm teaching some collage and visual journaling workshops at the Deer Path, and I have a little schedule there. But if you go to the Deer Path Outreach site, you can find out about my classes. I just do little mini workshops, 2 hours, let everybody get hands-on, try stuff, because I think that's the way you learn. Anyway, so back to the gesso. I thought I had my watercolors here, but you know what? they're here somewhere, but I've also got these kids temperas that are just, it's like watercolor. I love these things for the kids. It's just, you know, big watercolor lines. I just want to show you what happens with the watercolor on there, so you can see that. The watercolor kind of sticks in the grooves, and it's, you know, a lot like Yupo, but it does stick to the gesso. It won't stick to the acrylic. I'm thinking maybe there might be a little bit of acrylic mixed in here. Oh, it's good sticking. So that's the second step. After the gesso dries, apply watercolor. And then you can wipe it off, you can add layers. But I want to tell you a little secret. Gesso covers everything, except for one thing. Gesso does not cover water-based markers, like especially these Crayola markers. And, you know, it's kind of one of those things that's like, yeah, well, why would you want to know that? It's because I can add, this is even dry. I mean, that's dry. That's not it. Let's see what happens over here. Oh yeah, that was dry too. But you will be amazed at what happens. You know, there's some. When I put the gesso over it, see if I can dry this out. And the color just bleeds right through. It's a scrapbook paper, but it kind of looks like, to me, kind of reminds me of wood. Yeah. What is this class? The 100-acre wood. And so I'm going to glue that on here like this. Now, here's the problem when you're gluing paper and you're using a really wet glue. It starts to buckle. So the heavier your substrate is, the better it works. And you want it to get nice and wet. And then I use this wonderful tool. See how it's kind of, it's not really bubbling. I'll find something that's thinner. And then I just use this tool, and from the center, scrape it out. And I'm telling you, it gets rid of the bubbles and the rubber. Yeah, it's plastic. You know, I was using a credit card for a long time, but this is like what is it called when it's supposed to do when you sit in the chair? Yeah, that works. So I glued that on there. Now my watercolor paper is starting to warp, but that's going to stay on there nice and flat. And I can even use, I'm going to see if I can find something that's a little bit thinner. This is newsprint. There's a map. So for a base for a collage, or just, you know, a collage in itself, lots of heavy glue. Put down my map here. Lots more glue on top. And then I'm going to use this.
Do you put the glue under and over?
Under and over. And then what I want to do is get it wet enough so that it stretches, because that's what happens with paper. It buckles and stretches a little bit. And then take this tool, just get all those bubbles, kind of work from the middle, and get those out. And you can do big pieces of paper and get that nice flat. I mean, as a collage artist, the last thing you want is all your stuff to like be buckling around. I'm going to do this piece of newsprint too.
Well, Leslie, is that like decoupage too?
Well, yeah, it is. Decoupages and collage are both, you know.
Glue.
Yeah, glue. Decoupage is supposed to be more decorative. Collage is a little bit more earthy, I guess. Right, so it's bubbling a little bit, but not as much as to really show you. Well, Elmer's glue, this is kind of why I brought it up, because there are so many adhesives, and different adhesives work well for different things. The problem with Elmer's glue is that you could use an Elmer's glue, but the problem with Elmer's glue is that it is a rigid glue. When it dries, Elmer's glue does not bend. The other white glue that's out there that they use in England is PVA.
Foreground shape.
And PVA is more of a bookbinding glue because it is, when it dries, it still has flexibility to it. Elmer's glue doesn't really have that flexibility, but you can put Elmer's glue down, paint acrylic over it, and get a wonderful crackle. Who knew? I mean, it's actually, Golden has all these products that do these things. Basically, they're all the same products that we had 30 years ago, and they've just given them names. So,
This is dry clear now?
yeah. Yeah. So I could keep that, and that is what I did with this piece. White gesso on the bottom. You can see that I drew into the gesso, and then I glued this newsprint over it. Now this won't take the watercolor on top of it. You better do acrylic on top of it. But there is a product called Clear Gesso. Has anybody used Clear Gesso? Clear Gesso might be the happy medium.
And you can put pastel over clear gesso.
Yeah, they're just, yeah. You can put pastel over regular gesso too, can't you? Yeah, I think so, yeah. Right.
You got glue on glass?
Glue on glass, ooh, that's a good question. Glue on glass.
I would try it.
Yeah, I
It
don't
doesn't stay on well because you can wash it off of your jars and everything.
It's water soluble. If it's water
What's water
soluble.
It's not water soluble. It's because it's like a plastic, it'll just rub off.
Yeah.
Because I put my gesso in a jar and then I clean the jar because it's all caked and blocked and I
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Elmer's glue is when it's dry, is not water soluble. But there are glues that are water soluble. My girlfriend is in the framing business, she uses a white glue that's water soluble all the time. And I can't remember which one it is, it's so. Yeah, yeah. And then I was talking to somebody else about the go-to glue, it's kind of a new glue, it's called Crafter's Pick. Does anybody ever see Crafter's Pick glue? That will actually glue like bottle caps and wooden, game pieces, and they will stick. Yeah, it's called Crafter's Pick, and I've seen that at Hobby Lobby,
But where you really want to shop is Menards, right, for this kind of stuff.
Yes, because it's so inexpensive.
Right.
And you could get,
Buckets of it instead of a little piece, right?
exactly.
Is it called the same thing though, or is it called something else?
You gotta experiment,
You
figure
got-
out.
I haven't been shopping at Menards lately. I really actually want to just stick to gesso, and I'll use any type of polymer medium for glue. But you're right, you really, and you could go on the web and research this because, you go to Google and you can find anything. But the materials, if you buy them from the hardware store, are a lot cheaper than they are at the art store.
You have a 5-gallon bucket of stuff that you don't know what it is.
That's true. Yeah.
Have you, using the polymer type, to do the transfers on t-shirts and things?
I do transfers. I haven't transferred onto fabric, but I've done the transfer onto paper with powder.
Where you rub the paper off and have
Yes. Yeah. And, yeah, that's really fun. And I'm gonna do that at a couple of my workshops. I think I'm gonna do that on Friday. Yeah.
Where you go all the
Right, the transfers. And then what you do with the transfers is you use the polymer glue, and you put the polymer glue, you put it down like that, but you don't put any glue on top like I just did. You gotta get it flat without, and then you get it wet, and you wet it, and you pull off all the paper fibers, so just the ink is there.
So you make like a transparency. That's how we learn decoupage instead of using sticky paper with the thickness.
Oh,
That is much nicer.
cool. Yeah, that's the way to do it. Right, you just kind of have to hook up with the the full finishers, because they know all sorts of tricks. But the artists don't.
Actually, I learned that that was before I got married, which was 1970. A lady came in from the polymer company and taught us how to use it.
Yeah?
In an elementary school.
Cool.
So it was in the late 60s.
Oh, that is good. I know I have samples of this in my sketchbook. Yeah.
So you haven't worked on fabric?
I have not, but I've actually heard of people that have been very successful doing that with fluid matte medium. Fluid matte medium on fabric, and then transferring anything. You can't use inkjet because the inkjet is too, the inkjet bleeds. You have to use your color copies, have to be laser. So you have to go to Kinko's and get those. But fluid matte medium is the one that people think is not fabric, and it really works well. But it's tricky. I'm just gonna look, because I know I've got some of this. You know, my sketchbooks here, anybody who wants to look at them, you can feel free, just look at to see if there's some transfers in here. You can tell if it's a transfer because there's no texture. All these have texture. There's
So you suggest you use a laser image?
Yeah.
Laser print?
Yeah, because the inkjet, I know that there are some transfer systems that work for inkjet, but inkjet doesn't do well when it gets wet. Well, inkjet when it gets wet is kind of out of control. Oh no, see, I was gonna try to, okay, this is not a transfer. This is melted plastic, so that these pieces of tissue paper are in between plastic bags. It's really kind of fun, kind of different.
How did you process?
We use one of those big, not an iron, but one of those big T-shirt mangles. Yeah. Yeah.
Sounds toxic.
Yeah, you gotta have the windows open when you do that. But it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, I don't see, sometimes I have so many sketchbooks. In the back of my closet, I have, yeah. So I do a big line on top of the sketchbook watercolor in the grooves.
So then what were you talking about then, doing another layer?
Well, you can add another layer on top, and it gives it way more interest because, okay, I'm just going this way, blue. Some of the red, because watercolor is transparent, is transparent. So I figured, build up layers. Time out, okay. Everyone time out. Let's time out simple. Okay. All right, so are there any other questions? Because they're kind of, yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The little pieces in front, did you spray those when you were done? Is that why you had
Yes.
that?
Yes. This one's watercolor, this one's not so much watercolor. This is more acrylic and gel. But there's another one right here. Watercolor, gesso underneath, there's a lot of texture on it, yes. This is sprayed with a shiny finish. This is sprayed with, I think, more of a matte finish. I use the Krylon spray, get a box, go in the backyard. Spray. My spray box in the backyard. All right, any other questions? Okay.
Thank you. We've come to the part of the program where we're going to give ribbons of excellence. And did we pick up anything? Yes. We have about 15 paintings, and according to our policies and procedures, we we can give from 1 to 6 paintings exhibited. We can give out 1 ribbon. From 7 to 12 paintings exhibited, we can give out 2 ribbons.
So how many?
And 13 to 18, we can give out 3 ribbons. So it's not a first, second, or third situation. It's ribbons as award of excellence. Okay.
Okay, so I pick
I'm
3.
going to, okay, after we give out the ribbons and we close down, we're going to ask the members to help us to put the meeting room back in order so that the 3 or 4 board members who are here won't have to do everything.
This is tough. There's a lot of really nice stuff over here.
Correct.
All right, well, I'm going with these pieces that are like show pieces. I mean, they're definitely worthy of being in the show. We're going to replace them. All right. And there's just this. I'm going to open it up. Go get another one. Yeah, go get another one. Okay, all right.
Class tells.
Well, I'm really torn between the turtle and this, but I'm gonna go with this because I really like this. But this turtle over here on the blue jean, I mean, I love this. Love it. It's doing all sorts of wonderful things. But I think I'm going with the more finished pieces tonight. I don't know why.
Well, you know, one thing about the turtle, let me say this. Are there any members here who are subscribers to the Lake County Arts Magazine? Okay, for those of you who do not have subscription to the magazine, please take into consideration it's 4 issues for $20, and I am the editor-in-chief. And the turtle is going to be on the next cover of Lake County Arts Magazine.
I love the turtle, and it's always been. I'm going with these 3 pieces because they really look finished. They look like they're, ready to go right up on the wall. I love a spot of red. So yours too. I was looking at yours too. I don't know. It must be scary or I get old or whatever, but I think that red really is a color that brings people into art. I mean, the Target logo is red. I think there's something to say about a spot of red in your art. And I love this because we've got the red car and the red walls, the red bricks, but they're different. The 2 different reds. And I love how finished this is. I can't even do this at all. I mean, because I'm like all over the place. And then I love the composition. I love the subject matter. I mean, it's like the background was just really casually put in there, and it just looks effortless. I love there's figures in there. I mean, I love just the way that looks. And I'm really bad at this kind of critique. Let me critique your graphic design. I can do that. But this is really hard because I like everything. I like everything. All right, so.
Thank you, Leslie.
Who's the artist?
Roger. And
Okay.
who's this?
Who's yours?
And we're supposed to do this.
And then whose is this?
I know that.
Who's
The site.
I picked out boys. I'm sorry, girls.
We don't know where our ribbons are. I owe you.
Jack, would you show up where the ribbons are?
Sure, if you come back here.
All right, so thank you very much. You are a talented group. Thank you.
Okay, and just a reminder, our next meeting is going to be the membership fall show critique at the Jack Benning Center in Bowen Park in Waukegan. There's buzz about having a Christmas party, so watch your emails. You never know what's coming up there. How many of you have heard about the Undercroft Gallery? Okay, maybe I should say, how many have not heard about the Undercroft Gallery? Okay, the Undercroft Gallery is located in the basement of Christ Episcopal Church, which will be celebrating its 125th anniversary Mary Party. I think that's November the 8th. But we have artists, David McElroy, who does skyscapes or clouds, things like that. The Undercroft Gallery is sponsored by the Lake County Art League, Lake County Arts Magazine, and Christ Episcopal Church. If you need any more information about the gallery, please get in touch. Okay?
Doesn't seem the right proportion.
Thank you, and see you at the Benning Center. Okay? Okay, Ben.
No, I don't.
Yeah, you did. I saw you.